Friends, thank you for being here today. What if I told you that the future of the free world's economy isn't being decided in the chaotic, unpredictable halls of Washington, D.C., but was instead quietly reshaped on a freezing Sunday morning in Oslo, Norway? How does a nation transition from being the quiet, polite neighbor of a superpower to becoming the indispensable, unshakable anchor of global stability in a world seemingly gone mad? To really answer those questions, let me take you to a highly unusual, truly remarkable diplomatic moment that recently unfolded on the global stage, a moment that signals a massive seismic shift in international politics and the global balance of economic trust. Just picture the scene over in Norway. The air is crisp, the setting is formal, and the geopolitical stakes could not be higher. Prime Minister Mark Carney stands alongside the Norwegian Prime Minister, and what happens next breaks all the standard rules of cautious, modern diplomacy. Carney receives unprecedented, glowing public praise from a major European leader. This wasn't the polite, heavily scripted diplomatic fluff we are so accustomed to hearing at these summits. This was a clear, unambiguous recognition that Canada, under Carney's leadership, is rapidly stepping up as a central player and a trusted, vital voice in a dangerously destabilized global landscape. Now, consider the sheer gravity of that kind of reception. European leaders are not just tolerating Canada's presence, they are actively embracing it, going so far as to dub Canada an honorary Nordic country. When Carney arrived, multiple Nordic leaders, heads of state with their own massive domestic and international crises to manage, literally rearranged their weekend schedules just to hold Sunday morning strategy sessions with him. In the rigid world of international diplomacy, where schedules are locked in months in advance, that simply does not happen unless the person in the room is viewed as absolutely essential to the future. It tells a story of a world desperately starved for leadership and finding it not in the traditional empire to the south, but in the vast, stable democracy of the north. To fully grasp why this specific moment in Oslo matters so deeply, we need to zoom out for a second and examine the sharp, undeniable contrast between Canadian stability and the chaos currently gripping the United States. We are living through a global context where the anxiety is palpable. The post-World War II order is fracturing. Long-standing alliances are being violently tested. Global trade is under immense historic strain, and geopolitical tensions are rising to boiling points not seen since the Cold War. And right at the center of this storm is Donald Trump's administration in the United States. It is a government characterized by weaponized unpredictability. We are witnessing an administration that routinely shakes up fundamental security alliances via late-night social media posts, launches arbitrary global trade wars that devastate supply chains, threatens the use of economic or military force against nominal allies, and creates massive, paralyzing uncertainty across global markets. For decades, the world looked to Washington for the baseline of global stability. Today, looking to Washington is like staring into a geopolitical hurricane. Capital, investment, and diplomatic trust are all notoriously cowardly. They flee from chaos. But look at the stark, brilliant contrast Mark Carney is presenting. Canada is aggressively emerging as the anti-disruption. It is stepping into the void left by American unreliability to present itself as a rock-solid partner, an unwavering, mature democracy, and a global energy and security powerhouse. The shift in trust is monumental. Global leaders, institutional investors, and multinational corporations are increasingly averting their eyes from Washington's daily circus and looking toward Ottawa's steady, predictable, data-driven governance. They are realizing that in a world where the rules change every 24 hours, a country that actually keeps its word is the most valuable commodity on Earth. And that stark contrast leads me directly to the heart of what happened in Oslo. We need to talk about the core mission of this strategic alliance, fueling the world responsibly. The meeting between Carney and the Norwegian Prime Minister wasn't a ceremonial photo opportunity. It was a deeply strategic war council regarding the survival of the global economy. Both nations share incredible similarities. They are central NATO allies, dominant Arctic powers, and crucially, they possess some of the world's largest, most reliable, and most ethically managed energy resources. Now, let's be honest, at this very moment, global energy markets are fragile. Supply chains have been battered by conflict, pandemics, and trade wars, losing significant buffers in both daily oil and natural gas flows. When energy markets panic, the global economy shudders, inflation spikes, industries halt, and everyday citizens pay the price. In this precarious environment, Canada and Norway are stepping up to provide essential market stability. Carney articulated this perfectly during the press conference, explaining the mechanics of global energy security in a way that resonated far beyond the room. He pointed out a crucial distinction under the International Energy Agency arrangements. Energy importing nations are terrified of supply shocks. They are forced by international rules to stockpile at least 90 days of energy reserves, tying up billions of dollars in capital, just to survive potential disruptions. But nations like Canada and Norway, they don't need those massive defensive reserves. Why? Because they are the reserve. They act as the market's ultimate safety net, continuously providing safe, low-risk, low-cost, and increasingly low-carbon energy to a thirsty planet. But here's the most critical point I want you to take away today. Beyond the vast natural resources, the oceans of oil, the endless reserves of natural gas, and the critical minerals required for the next generation of technology, Canada offers something the global market values even more than the commodities themselves. Canada offers the democratic premium. In a world where energy is often controlled by autocrats, dictators, and volatile regimes who use pipelines as weapons of war, Canadian and Norwegian energy is different. It is backed by political stability, the absolute rule of law, and reliable democratic institutions. When you buy from Canada, you are not funding a rogue state. You are investing in a system that honors contracts and respects human rights. Canada is fundamentally transitioning from being merely an exporter of goods to becoming a structural solution to global supply chain fragility. Now, we all know true leadership never goes completely unchallenged. And during that press conference, we got an absolute masterclass in how to handle bad faith attacks. The atmosphere took a sudden, tense turn when a reporter, identified as Judy, attempted to publicly ambush the Prime Minister. She tried to challenge his economic leadership on the world stage, accusing him of breaking promises on tariffs and citing a highly selective statistic about a loss of 4,000 jobs in February to frame his entire first year in office as a disappointment for Canadians. It was a classic gotcha moment, folks. The kind of rhetorical trap that often causes politicians to stumble, deflect, or launch into angry, empty rhetoric. But Carney's response was surgical, immediate, and absolutely devastating. He dismantled the false narrative not with political spin, but with hard, undeniable, irrefutable economic data. Let me tell you, with absolute calm, he laid out the reality of the numbers. He reminded the room and the world watching that since he took office, Canada has created 84,000 net new jobs. To put that in perspective, he pointed out that the United States, an economy 10 times Canada's size, had only created about 6,000 jobs over that exact same period. It was a mic drop comparison that instantly shattered the reporter's premise. And he didn't stop there. He tackled the cost of living crisis head on, proving that while global inflation has hurt, his administration's policies are working. He noted that wages in Canada are consistently growing faster than inflation every single month, recently topping an impressive 4% growth. He proved that despite the global headwinds, Canadians are actually getting ahead. Why does this confrontation matter? Because it highlights a profound truth about Carney's strategy. His global vision is entirely backed by domestic results. You cannot be a leader on the world stage if your own house is on fire. By highlighting major infrastructure initiatives, new pipelines, and massive uranium and energy projects moving forward, especially in Canada's north, Carney proved that his international diplomacy is rooted in real, tangible economic capacity at home. Global leadership is not built on catchy slogans, angry tweets, or red hats. It is built on results. It is built on steel in the ground, paychecks in the bank, and verifiable economic growth. Now, before we look at the incredible strategic pivot happening right now in the Arctic, I want to pause and ask you, do you think Canada has the economic and political stamina to truly replace the US as a reliable global anchor? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one, and I love seeing your perspectives on this. So let's talk about what might be the single most revealing moment of the entire summit, which came right near the end. A Norwegian journalist posed a highly sensitive, critical question that reflects the deep, quiet anxiety of every European leader today. Given the increasingly aggressive, punitive trade actions coming from the United States under Trump, is it time for countries like Canada and Europe to bypass Washington and radically deepen their own cooperation? It was an open invitation to take a cheap shot at the American president. A lesser politician would have taken the bait, launching into a critique of U.S. policy that would have dominated the news cycle but achieved nothing strategic. Carney, instead, executed a move of masterful diplomatic judo. He completely reframed the entire narrative. He didn't attack the United States. Instead, he elevated the conversation to focus on shared, foundational values. He argued that deepening economic and security ties between Canada, Norway, and the European Union isn't merely a defensive reaction to Trump's erratic America. It is something that makes fundamental, proactive, strategic sense on its own merits. He spoke instead of a new network, an alliance of middle powers. These are like-minded nations with highly complementary economies, nations that deeply value sustainability, innovative technology, and strong labor codes. The subtle but incredibly powerful implication of his message was clear. In a world where the traditional superpower acts with malicious unpredictability, the rest of the democratic world is not going to just sit around and wait to be bullied. Canada and its allies are actively building a resilient, independent, and unbreakable network of cooperation that can stand entirely on its own. They are building a firewall against global chaos, But let's get specific for a moment about what this middle power network actually looks like in practice, right out there in the real world. Because it is far more than just high-minded diplomatic rhetoric. It is about cold, hard, strategic reality. To understand the true weight of what Carney is building with allies like Norway, we have to look north. We have to look at the Arctic. The Arctic is rapidly thawing, opening up unprecedented new shipping routes and exposing vast, untapped resources. It has suddenly become the most critical and potentially dangerous new geopolitical chessboard on the planet. And while Washington remains bogged down in unpredictable trade spats, erratic foreign policy shifts, and exhausting internal political warfare, adversarial powers like Russia and China are not waiting around. They are aggressively mapping, militarizing, and staking aggressive claims across the far north. Canada and Norway stand together at the absolute front line of this new frontier. By deliberately deepening this specific alliance, Prime Minister Carney isn't just talking about lowering tariffs or boosting fish exports. He is talking about actively securing the northern flank of the free world. It is about committing to joint naval patrols, integrating advanced shared intelligence networks, and investing heavily in icebreakers, early warning systems, and deep-water Arctic ports. This is Canada decisively taking the mantle of continental and international defense. It is a clear declaration that Ottawa refuses to wait for an unreliable, distracted superpower to finally wake up and realize what is at stake. Canada is simply doing the work, and this leadership extends far beyond military security. It strikes directly at the heart of our future economic survival. Earlier, I mentioned the democratic premium regarding traditional energy like oil and gas, but let's talk about the technology of tomorrow. Let's talk about the advanced batteries, the electric vehicles, the semiconductors, and the massive artificial intelligence infrastructure that will completely define the 21st century economy. Every single piece of that technology requires critical minerals, lithium, cobalt, uranium, and rare earth elements. Right now, authoritarian regimes possess a terrifying dominance over that global supply chain. They hold a virtual chokehold over the free world's ability to transition to green energy and advanced tech. But beneath the soil of Canada, and within the technological partnerships being forged with nations like Norway, lies the antidote to that monopoly. Carney's strategic maneuvering in Oslo was a blazing signal flare to the entire European market. You no longer have to rely on hostile dictatorships for the resources that power your microchips, your grids, or your green transition. Canada is aggressively building out the infrastructure, from the mines to the processing plants to the export terminals, to supply these critical minerals. And they are doing it with the highest labor standards, robust environmental safeguards, and absolute democratic transparency. It is a massive, multi-generational economic pivot designed to break the authoritarian grip on the future. This is exactly why those European leaders eagerly cleared their weekend schedules. So they aren't just looking for a polite trading partner from across the Atlantic. They are desperately, urgently searching for a secure, ethical, and unbreakable supply chain to completely insulate their economies from the whims of both hostile autocracies and an erratic, untrustworthy Washington. They look at Mark Carney and they see a leader who isn't distracted by late-night social media feuds or exhausting partisan theater. They see a leader executing a meticulous, long-term, globally integrated industrial strategy. It is the exact kind of serious, competent, visionary governance that actually changes the course of human history. So, what does this all mean for us? The events that transpired in Oslo offer us a crystal-clear glimpse into a rapidly, permanently shifting global power dynamic. We are witnessing the end of an era where smaller nations simply fall in line behind a chaotic hegemon. The rise of the middle powers is here. Countries like Canada are no longer satisfied with just participating in the global order. They are stepping to the absolute forefront to actively defend global stability, to strengthen fractured democratic alliances, and to secure the international energy markets that keep the lights on across the free world. We are standing at a crossroads, folks. The world is being offered a stark choice between two incredibly different models of governance. On one side, there's the path of confrontation, isolationism, grievance, and reckless unpredictability. On the other side, there's the path Canada is charting, a relentless commitment to cooperation, strategic, long-term investment, data-driven policy, and steadfast, mature leadership. Judging by the unprecedented praise echoing out of Europe today, and the hard economic results being delivered at home, the choice is becoming obvious. The world is watching. The world is adjusting. And the world is finally realizing that the true north is no longer just strong and free. It is leading the way. If you found this deep dive valuable and want to stay ahead of the curve on the massive geopolitical shifts shaping our future, please hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell notification so you never miss a video. It really helps the channel grow. And before you go, let's get the debate going in the comments below. Do you trust this new middle power alliance to keep the world safe, or is American leadership still impossible to replace? Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.